Healthy, fast, and affordable meal prep strategies for guaranteed result. Welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Man Podcast. I'm Coach Lawrence Lalonde, and I'm here with the man himself, Coach Aaron Jameson. Looking good, brother. Looking good.
Back at you, stud. Back at you.
This guy's got his meal prep dialed in, and today we're going to be talking about those healthy, fast, and affordable meal prep strategies to help you guys. So one of the main problems we see right now with guys in this industry and people who are trying to lose weight is that they're having a hard time with constraints due to time, due to budget, and due to the lack of knowledge about how to prepare a healthy meal. And we really believe that there's a framework you're going to need for this. And it all starts with having a good plan. We're going to talk about that. But we find that there's a lot of guys who come to us and say that they're feeling lost and they're not sure what to do. We want to take you and help you have a confident plan so that you know where you're going to be in the next month to 2 months, and then set yourself on a success journey from there on. So fear not, this episode has the answers for you. And Coach Aaron's going to dive into the 4 P's of meal planning. So stay tuned for that. Get your notepads ready. It's going to be awesome. We've designed programs and courses that actually help our gentlemen in the program do exactly what we're going to talk about today. So if you're someone who's been seeking the help, the knowledge, and the instruction, yes, our episodes are here for you. We've got the information and it's free, but you might want to level up. And that's when you're going to have to get into a program like the Ultimate Man Summer Shred, or another one of our great programs that are going to help you level up and find out how to detail this a little bit more for you as an individual, because everybody's different. And that's why it's called Everybody, right? So keep that in mind. We'll show you the methods that we've used to transform clients all over the world and throughout our years of experience, even ourselves. Coach AJ, like I said, looking great. He's in his summer shred right now. That's what we're bringing you today. So great conversation on that. The one thing we want to ask of you is, if you're a listener, a viewer, and you've been with us for a while, but you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please hit the subscribe and show us that you become part of the tribe. Become part of the Ultimate Man. So share the episode if you know someone who might need the information on how to meal prep better and have an actual structured plan. So we're going to become the best version of ourselves today in this episode: healthy, fast, and affordable meal prep strategies. So Coach Aaron, we came up with this idea of the 4 P's of meal prep. So we want to kind of go there first for our listeners who are kind of like, okay, well, what are the 4 P's? How do they apply to me? What do we got for them?
Okay, 4 P's right here. We got a plan. First, you need a plan. Then you need to prep. That's what we're talking about today, meal prep. Then we need to come up with some portions, all right? You don't want to be just stuffing a ton of food in your mouth. You got to portion that shit, right? Then you need to persist, okay? Number 4, you need to persist. So it all starts with the plan. If you don't have a specific destination dialed into your GPS, your greatest possible self, you're not going to be able to hit that target, right? So we need to come up with a plan, and that's what Coach Lawrence was saying is so crucial, because so many people come to us and they're like, oh, what should I eat? What should I eat? And it's like, well, what are your food preferences? What do you have any restrictions? Are you a vegetarian? Are you a carnivore? Do you have any, food allergies? We just can't tell someone right off the bat what to eat until we come up with a plan based on, are they a male or a female? How much weight do they have? How much weight do they need to lose? There's so many different factors that need to be personalized before we can really dial that in. So first off is the plan. So we're going to talk about that first, and then we're going to go into meal prep, portion control, and then persistence, because if you just do it for a little bit, you're going to take one step forward and then you take a couple steps back and you're not going to get frickin' anywhere. So persistence is the key, after you have the plan and all the other things in place.
Yeah, it's true. And the guys listening to this, you know that if you're probably wandering around lost in your journey and going, well, I'm working out all the time and I'm pretty sure I'm eating healthy, still not seeing results, you know that there's something missing. And most often it's structure and it's a plan. It all starts there. And we're going to share with you some of our stories. Coach Aaron's been there. I've been there. And just even in our own story, we've been all over the place before. We've been lost. We've been structuring a lifestyle that now we are both living by and we feel so much better about. We want that for you. And it takes time to develop that. I tell some of my clients, it could take up to 3 years for us to figure out the perfect diet for you, but it's going to be your diet. So, you get people who talk about diet in the way of well, I followed keto and that worked for me. And then you stopped? Well, yeah, I couldn't, keep with the low carb side of it or whatever. Okay, well, so it didn't actually become the diet for you. It was just a temporary fix to get a result that created caloric deficit. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And I was like, well, then I tried carnivore diet. I thought that was really good. And then you stopped? Yeah, well, it was because, and it always ends up being that they couldn't stay consistent, no matter which diet they followed. So I'm like, see, there's only one diet that's going to work for you. It's the Aaron Jameson diet for you, Aaron Jameson. It's going to be the Lawrence Lalonde diet for me. And it's going to be taking some time to figure that out. And if you realize that and you're willing to give the journey the time it needs and get the coaching and the help, man, you can turn your whole life around and never need another diet. It's going to be all laid out for you. So that's what our goal is today, but help you frame it into a meal planning approach. So
Yeah,
without
I got a quick story about a client I just started working with the other day, and they were really big into keto because they lost some weight with keto. So they were like, "Oh, I'm on a keto diet," and then they're like coming to me for coaching, and then at this point they're like, "It's not working anymore. It's just I'm screwing up." And then they ended up telling me, oh, they're having, they're getting up in the middle of the night and they're having, Reese's cups, like multiple Reese's cups and going through a whole bag. And I'm like, well, you're not in keto if you're having Reese's cups in the middle of the night. It doesn't work that way. So yeah. And this is a cool little kind of analogy we were talking about. It's like you probably heard this before. Like if you're in a rowboat that's tied to the dock, right? I like to think of it like this: when a guy is like trying to work out, trying to get a new training program going, they're working out really hard. They're in the rowboat tied to the dock and they're rowing really hard, right? But they're not going to get anywhere until you cut the rope. So don't be a dope. Cut the rope.
I like that. Yeah, man, if you're anchored to the dock, right? Rowing
Yeah, yeah.
all
And
your
that
effort.
anchor, and that anchor a lot of times is the meal prep that we're talking about today.
Mm, that's a really good analogy, man. You know I love analogies. Nicely done. So tied back to the dock, that's really good. And then that being the anchor or the rope holding you back is that you don't have a strategy or a plan where it all begins. That's a cool analogy. But I was also thinking about, when you're in that rowboat and you're giving her, that's like hitting the gym and working your ass off. I mean, you're going to burn a lot of calories. You're going to feel the muscle burn and you're going to feel everything that you think you're supposed to feel, but you're still not getting anywhere. What a cool analogy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Water's splashing, water's flying, and no ground is being made, right?
Yeah, yeah. You
So,
look in the mirror every week and you're like, I look the same, but I've been working my ass off.
mhm.
You got to get that dialed in for the win.
That's going to hit home. So, where does it begin? Well, again, it's individual. So, you have to know what your caloric allotment is. Some of you maybe have never heard of caloric allotment before. I know I hadn't. And it was kind of the allowance of how many calories you should be consuming because calories are energy units for the body, right? So, food becomes energy. And so, you consume a certain amount of food, you get a certain amount of energy. And we know that there's a maintenance amount of energy for the body. If you want to get bigger, you're going to need a surplus amount of energy. Like that would be a caloric surplus or a positive energy balance. But then there's also caloric deficit, which is negative energy balance to make sure you're bringing in less than you're burning out, which causes weight loss. And most people go after that one when they think diet. Diet means calorie cut. Not always. And that's a mind blowing part for most people. Sometimes the best diet is actually to have a maintenance or even a reverse structure to help you out first. There's a lot to this game. So we really want to make that evident off the top of the episode today that you should be getting coaching and help. It doesn't have to be from us. Of course, we'd prefer that it is, but at least get good help out there, guys. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure that you're seeking out the right information. There's a lot of things across YouTube and across Instagram and all these other places about who's eating what, who's doing what, but like we explained, no particular diet style works until you've designed the one that works for you. So let's talk about that a little bit. The major confusion about healthy foods, we kind of talk about whole food versus processed. And Coach Aaron and I are going to take a little stance here because one of our main opponents for Coach Aaron and I is the food industry in general. And we talked about it a little bit off air earlier, and you might have heard the acronym SAD, the Standard American Diet, right? And that is quite sad because there's a lot of money being put into the processing of foods and going to what we'd call non-whole food, anything that has multiple ingredients on the label. Again, take a look at food labels and see what's going on inside the product you're purchasing. If it has more than 2 or 3 items on the label, you're already into processing. And processing can come in a lot of different forms, but people are paid billions of dollars in this industry to make food more palatable, make it more enjoyable, more addictive. And that's causing a lot of these major issues with people overeating and then causing these weight gain issues. So as much as it boosts clients for Coach Aaron and I, we want health to be the main driving factor behind this. So um, we're gonna flex our muscles a little bit against the food industry. So if we're if you're understanding that we're not happy with the way the grocery stores look, we still want to help you find a way to maneuver yourself around there, because we have to survive and we have to find the right foods to work for us. So among the clean, lean sources and avoiding the processed foods, we would say that's one of the main things we're going to do to help overcome the confusion about healthy foods in general. We kind of mostly know what good versus bad would be if we were going to give them those titles. We don't want to demonize any particular product, because as soon as you start restricting from something, you end up wanting it more, right? So, Coach Aaron, what would be one of those foods you could think of right away where it's like if you told yourself you can't have it, you'd want it even more? Have you got any of those off the top?
Well, for a lot of people, it'd be like, soda would be a huge one, probably. I'm not giving up my soda. There's certain
Right.
foods people are just like, nope, I ain't going there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of those right away. Salty, right? Potato chips, those types
Yep.
of things. People, and learning to meal plan and meal prep is going to be a way to avoid these triggers and avoid these craving, these things that happen to you to offset it. So there's going to be a lot of detail we want. And again, if you got your notepad out, we're going to talk about some of the different things you need to do to set up for good meal planning. And of course, as we always say, get coaching if you need to really structure it in for you. But the first one we're going to talk about is one of the main complaints I get is time. People, when they come in, they go, you know what, Coach Aaron, I know you're talking about, getting all my good, healthy foods in there and stuff. I just don't have time, man, for cooking and getting all the meals together. What do you feel about the meal timing as far as, like I've only got 24 hours in a day. I can't find time to make some food. So how do I get around that? What would be the best tips and strategies for getting over the timing if you don't have enough time to meal prep?
I mean, everybody's got the time. You end up, doing some things for real. I like one of my personal tips is one of my favorites is I love listening to like podcasts or watching UFC fights or something. So that's kind of like my enjoyable downtime, self-care, relaxation time stuff. So I'll like put on a podcast while I'm doing my meal prep. So I feel like I'm doing something productive at the same time as I'm doing my meal prep, or I'm gaining some new knowledge on something.
Hmm.
So that's a really good one. And then and just the way that you structure your meal prep too is pretty cool. Like if you're going to be cooking, I like, for instance, I'll cook like potatoes a lot of times, sweet potatoes, and those kind of take longer to cook. So I'll start those first, on the stove. And at the same time as I'm doing that, you can do your proteins, your veggies and stuff. So you're kind of like you're killing multiple birds with one stone, right? You're just not just doing one thing. You're not just cooking one meal at a time. You're cooking meals for like multiple days, because you're going to spend time prepping anyways. If you're committed to your body transformation goals and you're committed to meal prepping, you might as well just cook it in bulk.
That's a great tip. The bulk part of it, the structure. I had wrote in the notes because again we got a lot of notes of conversation we want to have today. Coach JJ's got this order-based cooking time, so strategizing as to what's going to take the longest to cook, get that started, and then start cooking other things. You could probably have 5 different items on the go, maybe more, depending on how many devices you got. Your stovetop burner probably has 3 or 4 elements, right, on top of the burner. You can get 4 different
Right.
pots of something going, right? Then you got your
Yep.
stove. You could have something in the oven, right? You get a microwave. There might be something else you could prepare in the microwave. Air fryers sitting on on the kitchen counter. Maybe you got an air fryer. You could be preparing something in there. Again, your hydro bill might go up, but hey, you got all these things going. You could be preparing multiple meals at the same time instead of thinking in a linear, what am I going to eat right now? Which I think is a big problem for most people. They're saying I don't have time because they're running this race of like what's in front of me right now, trying to always be catching up, the carrot on the stick, just chasing it, right? What if you're already at the finish line waiting for the carrot to get to you? How much less stress would that be? Going, that carrot will eventually get here. I'm already at the finish line, right? It's just that mindset of relaxation would be to know you're prepared. I think that's a huge, huge piece of this puzzle. So use Coach Aaron's strategy there and place the order on what's going to take the longest. Break it down into the quickest, and then everything's ready at the same time when you're done. That's cool. And I like that you added doing something fun while you're doing it. If you're not too distracted and you're a multitask oriented person, then great. Kind of habit stacking, right? So you're going to
Yeah.
be doing, I'm going to sit down and watch my favorite show. When you're sitting there doing absolutely nothing, you could be doing your meal prepping, which is awesome. So I like that you gave that tip out there. Batch cooking and doing it in advance for the week is as simple as it needs to be. So pick a day or a time or whatever works for you, and you're going to structure it out. And maybe it's every day, but it's a little something every day. That's cool. I know in one of our programs, we had a conversation with the guys recently about, some of the guys saying, I don't want to cook food for 7 days in advance and then it's going to go bad, right? And one of your tips for the guys was, hey, why not midweek batch? Right? Kind of like, and again, we're giving away some of our great information here, but we were talking about maybe just use the batch approach, but break it down into shorter duration. Any strategy or tip you want to add to that? Or is that kind of the main emphasis right there is just midweek it?
Yeah, it all depends on, how much time you have allotted to be able to spend on meal prep. If you've got it, an hour or something, it's easy to make foods for at least several days at a time. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you could even potentially do it for the whole week if you don't mind, just, Tupperware in your foods and putting them in the freezer. Or I like to just do mine probably like, every second or third day so that I haven't only have to do it about probably 3 times a week in total for food prep. And
Perfect.
then, yeah, then it cuts my time down to like, maybe a half hour at a time. And
Mm-hmm.
but then it's like you said, it's just so much of a stress relief when you've just got the meals already prepared and you don't have to think about what you're going to eat. You already know ahead of time. It's a freaking game changer.
Such a nice reduction of stress right there. And we know that that is major in weight loss and fat loss is to reduce stress. So you need that. You need that. Meal prep might be that missing element for you that is literally holding you back. So talk about impact, right? Okay, so that's the main thing I get is the time restraint. I just don't have time. We all have time. Make time for the things we really want and we value the most. That's what we do, right? But we spend a lot of time scrolling phones. We spend Facebook feed, and next thing you know, an hour's gone by, and you've just been looking to see what the next neighbor's doing with his lawn. It's crazy, right? We're spending a lot of wasted time. The second complaint that I get is budget. A lot of people are on the fence of like, or on the argument side of it's too expensive to eat healthy. What do you think about that, Coach Aaron? What would you say to that person if they came to you and said, I want to eat healthy. I'm trying to lose weight and body fat, but it's really expensive to eat healthy. What would you say to them in reaction to that?
I'd say that you just need to do a little bit of research and find those deals, and then once you find those deals in those specific stores that carry those products that are healthy and whole foods, after that, then it becomes easy. Then you're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to go get my protein at this store, and I'm just going to buy enough for the whole week, and then I'm going to
Mm,
buy in bulk, whether it's your grains or your frozen veggies or whatever, and you kind of already have that. Again, going back to that plan, like step number one, like you need to have a plan first, like to establish what those healthy foods are for you, figure out where's the best, most cost effective way to go and purchase them, buy them in bulk for the whole week, and that's what I would say.
yeah, beautiful. The idea of shopping at multiple stores might actually be something people didn't even consider, right? Like again, it depends where you live. We're not sure where you are in the world listening to the Ultimate Man podcast, but you probably have more than one grocery store option. Right? Maybe you even have a local butcher. Maybe you've got a local farmer that you support. You can go to different places. But in most grocery stores, you have a little bit of everything for selection, but it doesn't mean they always have the best price. So, Coach Aaron's suggestion is take a look at other stores and see who's got the better deal. It might mean you need to spend a little bit of gas money to get down to that other store, but you're going to save when buying bulk, right? And you're going to save on a particular product. It doesn't have to be expensive because that's your argument. It's too expensive to eat healthy. You might find that same product at another store for $2 or $3 less per whatever the unit is, and save some massive dollars in bulk,
Yep.
right? If people think, well, it's only $1, I'm not saving much. But if you bought $10 worth, you're saving, like you're saving $1 for every one of those. It can add up, right? And at the end of the day, your
Mhm.
grocery bill has saved a lot of money, and you're prepared. And now you got all this food, and you're saying it's going to spoil. Well, what about your freezer? Maybe you should have a unit prepared for this. And I know a lot of people who have like big meat freezers. They order from like a supplier, like a farmer who sends them like an entire amount of different meats and cuts and all the other stuff, and they just freeze it, and then they pull out and prepare for what they want by cooking what's in there. Have you yourself, Coach Aaron, had the meat freezer type thing, or do you have any clients who are advocates for that type of storage unit?
Yeah, in the past, definitely had a specific freezer just for meats and stuff that was just freaking jam packed. So I don't currently, but definitely utilize that in the past.
Yeah, same here. I don't have one either, and I think about it and I go, man, I'd like to have that. Definitely something to work on. But
Mm.
making sure you shop at the stores that have the best deals is really the answer here. Take a look in the flyers, the coupons. We're all on our cell phones today. There's apps like coupon apps and clip-on apps and stuff like that you can sort through. I mean, it used to come in the mail. There was always the junk flyers with all the local stores and all their deals. You get all that in the mail. So think about these things and just look around. Be a little more aware that you're trying to find healthy foods at a better price, and they will show up. It's like the yellow car analogy, right? If you're looking for a yellow car, you go outside and you're going to find a ton of them. But if you're not looking for them, they pass by you every day. They're always around. So get your focus on, budgeting for healthy foods, and then look around at different stores for that particular item, and you'll find you'll be able to get the better price on those items. So I love that, and we're taking a look at the. Let's see here. The lack of variety was the third argument. So we're going to go through some of the main things that I hear about. I want to ask you about lack of variety, Coach Aaron. So when people say, I understand now that, okay, I'm supposed to, I've gotten past the time constraint, I've gotten past the budget constraint, but what about like when I'm snacking? What should I be preparing for? I don't know what to eat. I've got my meals, but then I get snacky in between. How can I be prepared for that so I don't end up at McDonald's or end up at the convenience store buying the chocolate bar off the shelf, or I'm at the checkout counter and they got all those little fast, quick fix candies and things? How do I get past those little snacks? What could I do to be more prepared for that? What would you tell the person who's lacking the variety? I'm tired of eating the same thing all the time. Like, there's a lot of elements to this, but let's get some conversation going around that lack of variety.
Yeah, so again, it all comes to like planning. I've had several clients that just were, busy guys, entrepreneurs on the go, and sometimes you don't have time to do your meal prep or to package it and put it in your ice chest or whatever, and you're just like driving out and about and doing your thing. And so you just need to come up with some like specific things, places you can go even when you're out and about. Like maybe it's a Subway, or maybe it's even I had one client who went to In-N-Out and Burger, and he found it the most healthy option that he could that was there type thing. So you need to kind of have that plan ahead of time, and know what your calories are, and your macronutrient targets and all of that, so that if you go to some of those places that they're not the ideal option, but at least you know what you could have if you were there. And then as well as just like having prepared snacks and like, things that are just like ready to go, like last minute, it's crunch time. I have nothing prepared. I don't want to stop at frickin' In-N-Out Burger. Like I've just got this in my car at all times. That's just ready to go. I can just put it in a shaker bottle with some water, shake it up, and at least I know I'm meeting my calories and my macros and everything for the day. You got to be that freaking prepared, in my opinion.
Yeah. The idea of having someone who did go to In-N-Out Burger and still had choices in a desperate situation, like, oh my god, this happens. So when we say that the people who don't have time make that as an excuse, sometimes in a day, even though you were prepared, something else comes up. Things have changed around a little bit in your structure, and maybe you don't at this moment of time. It's the Coach Aaron's advice here, from what I'm hearing, is that as long as you know what your healthier option choices are at that particular place, you're still meal prepping to some degree. You're prepared to succeed even in, let's call it, worst case scenario. I think that's really good to know. And online today, there are a ton of informations that have been made available about local establishments, restaurants, fast food industry, where they have to list their calories, they have to list the macronutrients. And if you take a second to go look at their menu and check it, you can actually make a pretty educated decision beforehand, instead of falling victim to, okay, I'll take combo number 7, right? And
Mm-hmm.
here comes 1,500 calories in that one meal. That may be your downfall, is you're just not prepared. Take a look at their website and see what you have available. So that's a really good tip right there. Now I'm going to look at you, Coach Aaron. I'm going to say you look jacked, bro. You're probably eating chicken and broccoli every day, and it's probably boring as hell. I wouldn't want that lifestyle. What would you say?
Then you just need to mix it up a little bit, Buttercup. Um, so it's cool because you can still eat. I like to eat pretty much the same thing. I have a little bit of variety, but not a whole lot, just because it's easier for me, and I'm not a big variety buff. Like it's just not something that I really require.
Hmm.
but it's real simple to add just a little extra variety if you need to. You can still have your same foundational staple foods, but very simply add in some extra little, tasty sauces or some new spices and stuff to add a little variety. So maybe you're having chicken and broccoli, but maybe you're adding just another little sauce to it or something that makes it a little bit more, okay, we're having like Chinese variety today, or we're having a little Mexican variety to it another day. And it's pretty easy to mix it up. You need to have a little forethought and come up with those extra little accessory items.
I like it, man. I like that you went into this theme night approach.
Yeah.
Mexican night, yeah, fiesta night. And that's cool, man, because I think a lot of people, I remember being here where I had like back in my day, man, when I was out of shape and I had gotten past the boxing career stuff, I had like pizza Tuesday night every Tuesday night. And there was like, I always talk about the fried chicken. There was this fried chicken place that had like a $2 Tuesday. I used to go over there every Tuesday for this little chicken meal. It was like they were so catching me with the marketing, right? It was like every Tuesday you got a half price deal or you got some kind of thing. So I was like, man, Tuesday was my day to get fat, right? I was eating up. I was saving money. That seemed cheap to me. So it seemed way more affordable to eat, but it wasn't healthy. I knew it wasn't healthy, but it was go the cheap route. So what we're trying to do is prevent that from happening to you. I've been there. I've been victim to it. So Coach Aaron's saying, why not create your own theme night back at home? Use your own chicken breast and make it seasoned. Make a marinade that makes it fun. Right? There's a lot of low calorie marinade type things you can get that are not loaded with sugars. I mean, it's just unreal what you can create at home. And I've even had clients send photos, and we post these on our social media a lot. Photos our clients have taken of their meals and saying, look what I created today. They're so proud of it. They took a picture and they wanted to share it with us. They've cleaned up their act, right? And they've cleaned it up to the point where they're feeling like this is really good. And what is it made up of? Well, chicken and broccoli and some of those things they said, oh, I don't want to eat that for a living. And they're eating it, but they've changed it into a way that made it so fun. They've added some veggies and some, different items to it. And they've made a real meal that their whole family went, this is good. Can we make this again? And the family didn't even realize they were eating way healthier than they used to on, fried chicken night, right? So I think
Mm.
that's really important. I like the way you put that in there with herbs, spices, and marinades, talking about making a theme night. That's super cool,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah. You could have Italian night, Chinese night, Mexican night, Thai food night, American healthy burger or healthy pizza version or something like that. Yeah,
That's
mix it up.
awesome. Cooking with Coach Aaron on the next episode. We're going to follow you into your kitchen. You can take us through some theme nights. It's multicultural here at the Ultimate Man podcast.
Yeah.
That would be cool. And you know what? That brings me to this topic of just off the top of my head, the influencers out there today are doing a lot of these little TikTok videos and stuff like what I eat in a day. And they're showing, what they personally eat and they're going through their thing. Be careful for all the guys out there who are watching this type of thing. Here's Jay Cutler and what he eats in a day. Well, that might not be you, right? And if Coach Aaron goes through what he eats in a day, again, that might not be you, right? So we're going to try to make sure we really harp on the fact that we need to individualize this for you. What if your gut health doesn't react well with a certain carbohydrate? Right? Maybe there's a lactose intolerance that you don't even know about, but you start using a product and you believe it to be healthy for you, and you're getting some really violent gut reactions and diarrhea and all kinds of things. That needs to be addressed, and a good coach will do that for you. They'll help you trigger and find these things, journal these things. There's a lot of value in being accountable and having a plan. So again, it comes back to getting that help. So we really want to make sure we make that a priority. We're not here to sell you anything. We're here to help you. And so making sure that that's the first and foremost thing is develop a plan so that you don't have to make one down the road. You have the diet that works for you. So variety becomes one of those things that I hear a lot. It's just kind of is to some degree, it's like, well, you know what, just suck it up. Get used to the things that work, right? If you find what works, why change it? So find ways to use the same thing in multiple ways is kind of where we're going with this. Theme night is a fun way. I'm really liking that. I think that's very cool. So yeah,
Mm.
and we were talking about the whole being prepared on the road thing too. Just reminded me to a previous episode. I told a story about a truck driver who came into the gym, talked to me one time, and he said he wanted to lose weight. He wanted to get the body fat down, but he had no time for the gym because he was on the road all the time, like literally long haul trucking. Couldn't really stop in anywhere. Slept in the truck back on the road. Like it was really, truckers out there who are listening, the lifestyle, right? And so he came to me and said, I need help. We structured a meal plan formation of like, here's what you should be eating based on your size, based on your activity level, based on your age, based on so many factors that we knew about what he had, in his personal life and his lifestyle. And then we filled his cooler bag or his ice chest with the items that he needed to make sure he reached that caloric allotment. And he was able to do that. And that was the last time I saw him. I saw him that one time. And by the time I saw this guy again, it was a couple years. He had come back and he had lost like 40, it was 40 to 60 pounds. I mean, he was way down in weight, 30, 40 pounds. I forget exactly what it was. He came in and I was like, I didn't even recognize him. He's like, I'm Chris. Remember I talked to you about the nutrition thing? And I was like, holy crap, like unbelievable. And all the success was in the meal planning. He was no longer pulling over at drive-through places, truck stops with greasy, trucker man burger, the hungry man plates and things like that, right? So having that preparation, and this just kind of goes back to what we're talking about, a plan, a preparation. So these are really, really, important parts of the journey. Anything in the way of your personal life, Coach Aaron, when you used to go to a grocery store, was there ever a chaos time for you where you were like uncertain, didn't know what to shop for? How did that look for you before you kind of got it all dialed in?
Yeah, and some of my less wiser days, when I was just following the bro science, I was like, okay, I need my protein to build the muscle. So I need some protein, I need some carbs, but I didn't really, prepare, plan ahead, and I didn't know what my caloric allotment was and how many macros I should have in the proper proportions and all that fun
Mhm.
stuff. That was just kind of beyond my scope at the time. So I'd go into the store and get some protein, whatever it was. Maybe not the best source of protein that had probably more fat in it than it probably should have for my goals and whatnot.
Mm,
And then I get some carbs. So I'd buy a bag of potato chips, something, just something on the fly, right? You're freaking hungry. You didn't plan ahead. You're just like,
right.
okay, I need some protein. I need some carbs. So you go in there and grab something fast. But then if you look back at the ingredients and all of the calorie breakdown and stuff, and you're actually to track that and plug it into your, MyFitnessPal or tracker app, you'd be like, holy moly, I just ate a freaking 1,000 calories on this little snack that didn't even barely fill me up. And it's yeah, so that's what I used to do, just grab
Mm.
stuff on the fly.
That's
And
totally that's it. And the answer was to have structure, right? To be able to plan out what you're going to have. You were talking about like didn't even know what the right proteins were. And when you're talking about protein, we think chicken, for example, right? Protein, perfect. And there was a time in my life where anything with the word chicken on it qualified for good protein. Right? So chicken nuggets, chicken tenders, chicken. I was like, hey man, it's got chicken in it, right? And I hear this too from people. And again, we kind of laugh now because we're on the other side of it, going, oh, I understand. But in the beginning, I was like, hey man, it says chicken, and I think that's protein. So there's going to be protein in this item. And I know a lot of people out there fall victim to that, and they buy the chicken with really extremely high fat content, and it's processed and it's saturated fats. That we're not going to demonize saturated fat. We know there's a lot of evidence in the science today to show that you do need saturated fat, but again, a certain percentage of it. Too much of it is still not a good thing. And so we need to know what that is for you and help you to dial that in and control that. And that's what we're doing with our guys right now in the summer shred. So shout out to those guys who are kicking some major ass right now. Super proud of you guys. The
yeah.
the concept was, yeah, I was eating chicken nuggets every night, man. Thinking like, I'd look at a serving on the bag and it said like 8 to 12 or whatever for serving size. So I'm pounding back 8 to 12 chicken nuggets a night. I would go to the store and I'd buy like chicken tenders, hot and fresh in a little cardboard box. I was like, I'll get those. And man, I was just packing on that deep grease, and the fats and stuff that they were cooked in, the oils they were using. It was bad. And here I was going, I'm not seeing results. I'm hitting the gym. I'm gaining weight. I'm getting fatter. I don't understand. It's causing me to think that this isn't working. And that's not true. What wasn't working was my choice, right? My meal planning approach was terrible. So I had to learn which ones to avoid, which ones to get, that were better quality. Because chicken isn't just chicken. It depends how it's prepared. And that goes for beef and all these other things too. There's a lot of items that we're going to find. Then we got vegetarians out there who are trying to get their protein through plant sources. You can still batch cook your sources, right? So we're going to come back to that. No matter whether you take the side of vegan or vegetarian or whatever, it doesn't matter what your preference is. You've got to be prepared to hit those macronutrients properly. And then, like I always say, the analogy for me is a vehicle. Your car needs a certain amount of fuel to run, period. And that's going to be without moving. That's just idling per day. That's the cost of living. We call that basal metabolic rate. We all have that. You need to know what yours is. Then, if you spend energy, which is now to move, you need more fuel to get out of the parking lot and take a trip somewhere, right? And so that trip has to have extra fuel. Now, you may not be fueling for that at all. That's causing some problems. Your performance is going to go down. So there's going to be certain macronutrients needed for that. You got to prepare for those. We want to put this into a framework that understanding how to get that all prepared for you in a container is going to solve all the problem. So let's talk about containers for a second. As we go into the final problem, usually is inconsistency once you get it all together. So you figured out, okay, I have time. I'll be honest with myself. I can make time to meal prep. I can understand there are some sales out there. I'll get my budget together. I'll shop around. I'll get the good stuff and I'll buy it in bulk. I can get past this variety thing now that you talked about it. I like the theme night. I'm going to add some seasonings, some marinades, some spices. I'm liking where all this is going. And then, understanding that I need to hit a certain amount of calories and everything else. But the problem I'm having is I get doing it for a little bit and then I fall off the wagon. I stop doing it. Or, I lose interest in it and I kind of get back to it. And it's on and off. I'm very inconsistent with it. And my results are showing the same inconsistency. So Coach Aaron, take us into the world of our octagon, how we walk our people through. Like, can give an idea there. And then take us back to the 4 Ps, of course, the planning, the preparation, the portion, and the persistence. That persistence, that final part, I think is a major part of where we're going with this one. The inconsistency in the meal prep. Give us some feedback and some advice on this, for once you got it all together and you become just inconsistent. I can't stick to it for some reason.
Yeah, persistency is the key to anything that you want to be successful at, right? I mean, anything, business, strength training, you just showing up day after day, doing the work, and meal planning is no difference. Like, it's so easy to just you know, make be on your diet for a few days and like you're making some progress, you think, but then just 1 or 2 days off of your routine and you're like, it's really easy to pound back an extra couple thousand calories within a couple days of splurging. So if you're just being consistent for a week and then you have 1 or 2 days of a splurge, you just wasted your whole freaking week of all that hard work. So pick your allotted calories and stay consistent with that and don't vary from that too much. And there are situations, like you said, your activity level where we want to boost that caloric allotment up for a day or two to maybe recover from some strenuous exercise. You need to account for things like that. But if you're not persistent and you have those 1 or 2 splurge days that are it's gonna set you back. So don't do that. And then the octagon experience is basically, we have a formula that we follow in our summer shred and our ultimate man program, that just meal planning is just one aspect of that. We cover training, we keep guys accountability, we teach them how to track so they know what they're doing as far as their calories go, their macros go, teach them more strategies as far as what they can implement for their meal preparation, give them some new tips and tricks that are going to be working for them, because everybody is so individualized that everybody's got a different time frame. Some people are more busy than others. Some people have bigger appetites than other people's. Like, there's so many variables, right? So that's one of the cool things that we do, is just we have a very strategic octagon approach. Maybe I'll put it up on the screen somewhere here, where it's not just like meal planning is just one little simple aspect of the full spectrum that you need to be successful in your body transformation goals.
Beautifully said, brother. The idea is that this is a bigger picture, and meal prep, meal planning is one element. But it might be, for you, the episode you needed to hear today, because it's the element you have been missing. It's what's kept your rope anchor, to the dock while you've been rowing away. I love that analogy from earlier. So we want to kind of give you all the frameworks, and we hope that you've taken down some notes today that are going to help you move your meal prepping forward. We don't want the excuses to be the focus. We want the solutions to be the focus. That's really important. And we gave a lot of solutions today on how to do this. I think back to the very beginning, and I just want to kind of give you this candid opening idea of where I began. My boxing career, I had my injury. I became completely overweight and depressed. I was in a really bad state. I didn't give a shit what I ate. I would go to the store and I would just shop the aisles, man. I'd go down every aisle up and down. And you hear this thing about shop the perimeter. It's like, usually that's where the sales are. They're pushing that product to get it out, right? So the sales are out there. And it's usually healthier stuff on the outside because it's likely to spoil faster most often, right? So they're trying to get rid of it before it goes bad. They hide all the processing stuff that can last forever on the aisles in between. Now, I never really thought about that, but I used to shop every aisle up and down. And I'd fill my cart with everything that was cheap, as far as cost went. So if it was 99 cents or less, I was throwing it in the cart. Didn't care what it was, especially if it was tasty. And almost everything processed is tasty as can be. So I was craving more and more of this stuff because I was engineered to crave that stuff. I would buy chips. I would buy, like you said, soda pop. I would buy desserts and cakes and pastry type stuff. And a lot of people go, oh, that sounds good. That's why you're programmed to think that sounds good, right? I don't think that stuff sounds good anymore. I'm on the other side of it now where I eat cleaner and healthy. I crave proteins and I crave healthy foods more than I crave those sugar-based items. In fact, give you a quick example. I was at a concert and there was nothing to drink. They were selling bottled water for like, I forget, $4 or $5 for a bottle of water. I was like, holy crap. I don't want to pay that for a bottle of water. I can go to the fountain and drink that or the sink or whatever. I know that's not the healthiest sometimes either. But I was like, what else can I buy? I personally have had, and again, you might be on the camp for or against artificial sweetening, but I have this Monster Energy drink or any of the energy drink. I have those from time to time instead of a soda pop, and I go with the no sugar option, so it's got an artificial sweetener. And the idea was that was available there, so I was like, I'm going to buy one of those. Well, they were all sold out of the sugar-free version.
Oh,
So I thought, shit, the concert's gonna be long. I need something to drink. I'm not paying $5 for water when I can pay $6 for the energy drink. I'm like, $1 more, might as well get something. So anyway, my mind went to, I'm gonna buy the energy drink. Well, I bought the one that was available. It was the only one, and it was the full sugar value. I think it's like 60 some grams of sugar in the one drink. And I'm gonna tell you this honestly. I opened it up, I took a sip, and my stomach went upset instantly. The sugar that was in there was such a high level because of where I kind of constantly have my gut health now. It identified it immediately, and I got an upset stomach. I sipped on that energy drink for the rest of the night, barely able to finish it. And I can tell you this honestly, when I normally open a can, I have to prevent myself from chugging it back in like 2 drinks. I have a normal, non-sugar one, right? Like the 0 sugar. I took all night of the concert to drink this thing and my stomach was upset. So that's just an idea of showing you how damaging sugar can be once you've cleaned it out, and when it really gets reintroduced, it is nasty. But when you become accustomed to it, you don't even notice it, right? Your body's adjusted to it and it actually craves more of it, more damage, more poison. It's absolutely nasty. That's why we take a stance against that food industry of processing and, manufacturing foods and making them more palatable, more addictive. So here I was feeling the exact effect I'm talking about, and that's a real life story. But I used to go back to the grocery store, shop around, do the aisles, fill my cart with everything cheap, and I was gaining more and more weight. Depressed was part of why, because my gut health was fueling my brain, right? And so the gut health was getting worse by the foods I was choosing. At the end of, my journey, knowing that I had to clean it up, I started shopping for things, because again, I didn't have a lot of nutrition knowledge at this point. I started shopping for foods that the industry of health and fitness was telling me worked. So I started filling my cart with Slim Fast and, Ensures and like these quick supplement drink products. And you're going to start to lose weight because you're cutting your calories massively if you're taking that in. But I had no idea what I was actually supposed to be taking in. So now if I had any muscle mass at all, it was disappearing too. Right? And I was starving and I was thinking, this is a really miserable way to have to live if this is what weight loss looks like and fat loss looks like. So you got to understand there's 2 ends of the spectrum. There's the cutting it back and starving to death, which I did. And then there's also that, processed, high calorie, overweight side of it, trying to shop cheap and ending up with that. So we're trying to help you to live in the middle of it. And those are literally my 2 ends of the spectrum. Once I figured out meal prepping, it was to put Tupperwares in the fridge full of the good stuff, bulk items of it. So now I can go to the kitchen. I call it my 10 minutes or less rule. If I'm in the kitchen for more than 10 minutes, I haven't done my prep properly. I can go in and make a meal in 10 minutes or less because I've already got all the big stuff cooked and out of the way. That's something you want to be able to say for yourself is, can you use the 10 minutes or less rule in the kitchen? And again, we're not talking about the prepping part of it. We're just talking about every day to day getting meals ready. I don't mind at all. 10 minutes or less sounds like I got time for that. Right? And we say the same with workouts and everything else. If you can spend the time doing something you want to do that you know is going to benefit you, you will prioritize that. And that's where you're going to find time in your day. We all have that 24-hour clock. Making time for the things we want the most will be easy to do if you're prepared for it and you have a real passion and a why behind it. My why was I needed to lose weight. I needed to become not depressed anymore. I needed to have a mission in life, so I had to find a way to shop. So Coach Aaron, I know I talked a lot on all that, but what are your thoughts, brother? You got any feedback?
That was great, brother. I think that I'm really glad you pointed out the fact that just it messed with your stomach when you had that real sugary energy drink, and I think that goes back to our point about this standard American diet is just out to pretty much screw up our gut health in a lot of ways, and that gut health is affecting our not only our ability to transform our bodies, but our mental health at the same time, because the gut and the brain is so interrelated as far as that goes, and the serotonin and all that and whatnot.
Mhm.
So yeah, you gotta watch out for those food industry giants that are just have all that plethora of shit out there that's bad for you, that tastes so good, and you need to restructure your diet so that you don't even crave that stuff. Like Coach Lawrence was saying, he doesn't even crave that stuff anymore. If we have something super, super sugary or laden with a bunch of chemicals and shit, we're just like, yeah, this doesn't taste healthy and natural and is not supporting my body transformation goals.
Mhm.
Um, and I just think a lot of people don't have the know-how when it comes to the nutritional experience that we've gone through from just, like, was it 25, 30 years of each
Yeah.
coaching, both of us that we've been doing this stuff for years. So it's just come second nature to us. But a lot of people aren't really familiar with how to put those healthy meals together and what type of proper proportions so that they can create a plan that they can persist with, and have that consistency so they don't go into a starvation diet. And then they rebound and then they start splurging because their body is smarter than they are. And they're like, I can't keep feeding myself these slim fast meals. I gotta, these whatever those drinks you were doing. You
Yeah.
can't you can't keep doing that for so long. Your body's just gonna be like, no, I need more calories to be able to function optimally.
Mhm.
Um, so there's so much to this. We just want to, and really reiterate to you guys that if you need help on your journey, reach out to us for coaching. There's a hard way to go about this of learning it all on your own, and there's an easy way, and that is to get coached from someone who's been doing it for years themselves and coached hundreds of clients through it in the process. So we've got a link in all of our uh, descriptions and our show notes here on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're watching. Just go to the Get Coached app, the link in our description, and it'll give you a little application you can fill out if you want to be able to work with us, and we can get your diet dialed in for the win.
Very nice. One last tip, and we'll leave on that note afterwards. But I had another thought too. Actually, two tips. The first one is that meal prepping not only in the form of food, but also in the form of drinks. Making sure we have one of our main priorities is hitting our water and our hydration goals. It's okay to meal prep for hydration. And if you didn't hear about that, Coach Aaron dropped that bomb on us, hydration prep, in a previous episode. So check that out on our hydration episode. It was super cool talking about actually having all your water laid out and how you're going to consume it with and without sodium and different types of ways to do that. So, on the note of drinking and being prepared for that, we came prepared today for a toast to the ultimate man. We got our drinks in hand. Coach Aaron, as always, brother, it's a pleasure. Well, cheers to the Ultimate Man podcast and to meal prep and hydration prep.
Hashtag hydration prep.
Nice. There we are. So, guys out there, we hope you're keeping that hydration up as well, but you can be prepared for hydration and not fall victim to the soda pop and all the sugar that comes with it. The other thing I wanted to leave on was we are big advocates for doing some tracking and making sure you kind of have an idea of how many calories you are consuming, that type of thing. We do that for you in our coaching. But if you're doing it yourself, here's a way that we can help with the meal prep. This is a great way to do this is you could fill in your meal tracker ahead of time. Knowing what you're going to already eat will tell you whether you're going to hit your goal or not for the day. And then you'll know what to add or subtract as needed to stay right where you should be. That tip in itself will change the game for you, but you have to know what you're going to be eating. And that comes back to meal prep and a plan, right? So if I already know what I've got in the fridge prepared in my Tupperwares, I can enter it in and make sure it matches my needs. And if that is, bang on, I will be bang on. And then I'm going to feel great. I'm prepared. I'm successful. And the scales and the results and the tape measures and the photos and all the other good stuff we harp on will all show those results. We want that for you guys. So that's the last thing I wanted to leave on. Any closing thoughts, Coach Aaron?
Nope, let's just hey, join us on this journey and get shredded up for summer. If you're watching this currently, this episode currently, we're doing our summer shred. We're a 12-week summer shred. And then, after that, we'll have another challenge coming up for the next season. But right now, all the guys are getting ripped and ready. We've got the guys are doing great. Just another shout out to them. We're doing weekly assessments with our guys. We do pictures and measurements and body fat testing, and we're constantly seeing an evolution of their
Mhm.
progress week to week. We take a look at their photos, and we're seeing how much muscle that they're putting on, where they're losing their body fat. We're dialing in their diet just a little bit, tweaking it week by week, and it's super cool just to see other people doing the transformation process along with us.
Amazing. Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes us love what we do, man. We're blessed to get to do what we do. And speaking of blessed, we had an amazing BMF fight on the weekend. Our predictions were thrown out there for the UFC, and Gaethje and Holloway went at it. I know we talked about the predictions we made with Dom, I think, on the last episode. And
Yeah.
he was the only one who sided with me on Max, but we got the job done. What a great fight. What a great
Oh
fight.
my God, dude, that was epic, bro. Epic. What was like the last 1 or 2 seconds of the fight? Just freaking. If
Literally.
you guys haven't seen the BMF fight, that was freaking phenomenal.
Wow. Yeah, literally, Max pointed to the center of the octagon in the final like 10 seconds. And when the clock went down to like 1 second, unbelievable. We won't spoil it for you, I guess, but I guess we kind of already did. So
Yeah.
there you go. But yeah, it felt good to have such a great card loaded with action. One of the best cards of the year, but that would be one of the best fights of all time. I think that's going to go down in the books, man, with Forrest Griffin and uh,
Bonner.
Bonner. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
That fight's just legendary, and this one I think is right up there with it for sure.
Hmm.
So very cool for all our MMA fans. That's our final take on UFC 300. It was a unbelievably stacked card. We can't wait to make more predictions on the upcoming fights. I know there's a lot more greatness coming in the MMA world as well. And of course, if you didn't check out the podcast episode interview for the main event with Dominic, then go have a look at that as well. Subscribe to the channel, and as always, boys, we're gonna bring it in. Let's finish it right here.
Yeah.